Now that we have the first step in the website design process complete, now we actually move from the planning stage over to the actual design stage. We're going to take all the information that we learned through the first step, both in terms of the business's priorities and what the business is actually looking to do in terms of goals. And that is what is going to lead this process. So we just start sketching it out. Over here you'll see that we actually list out types of feelings that we're trying to convey. We're looking at senses. We've got some imagery ideas down here. What sort of things come to mind with bankruptcy? Dollar bills, empty pockets, sadness. All kinds of stuff. So we list all that out to give us a guiding hand in this design process. And so you can see we'll sketch it all out. A very rough sketch, but at least that gives us a sense of how we want this to all set up and flow. So up here we'd have a logo and menu and some sort of imagery here with a call to action perhaps. The different types of primary services that they offer. Little about us section, contact forms, frequently asked questions, and then a footer area. So once we actually sketch out and get a pretty general or good sense of how we want the website to lay out and flow, from there we actually just start mocking it up with imagery and text and so forth to get a much more concrete idea of how this is all going to lay out and how we can do this strategically. So I'll kind of walk you through this homepage here and show you why we did what we did and how we came to the layout that we did and so forth. And first things first here, we'll start right with the main image here. Through our research, we realized that so many people who were going through bankruptcy, just wanted things to stop. They wanted the phone calls from creditors to stop. They wanted to stop worrying about all the stress that they have related to their finances, which then carries over to other parts of their lives. So immediately we wanted to be able to connect with the feelings and annoyances that these potential clients are dealing with. So we've got this nice bunch of messages here. And then with the image, we found this image just kind of stood out to us. It was nice and clean and it allowed us to put content around it. And first things first, we look at the client's existing content that they have and see if there's some stuff that we can reuse there. But then there's also a number of websites that we use to buy stock photos or in many cases use free photos and videos. And this is actually Pexels.com, and I love this website. I go and I just type in keywords of things that I'm looking for that are relevant to the website that we're designing. So money, for instance. And you can see there's tons and tons of, these are actually free. So that's Pexels. And then another one I like to use is Unsplash.com. In this case, we're looking for pictures that have a sad tone or sad feel to them. Again, given our client and all the problems that they're experiencing now and all the stress, so forth, these types of photos tend to mirror many of those feelings that those people are having. So that's how we come up with images. So besides the images for the website, let's take a look at a few other details and how we lay out a website and why we sketched this out the way that we did. So starting right up here at the top of the page, you'll notice we have click to call, click to text buttons right off the top. We've got also a very simple menu here, a simple logo, and most importantly, we built this thing so that it is super friendly, mobile first. So it doesn't matter what screen size we're on, it works very well. You'll see we've got clickable numbers and so forth. So in the design process, we set this up with a mobile first attitude. One of the reasons that we do that is because in looking at the previous website, we noticed that a large percentage of the visitors were actually on a mobile device. And that information actually correlates well with the target demographic in terms of clientele that we're trying to reach here. Many of the people who are looking for a bankruptcy attorney don't have a computer. Many of them just use their telephone or a tablet. So we had to make sure that this website was super friendly in terms of mobile devices. So we'll scroll down here and you'll see we've got a little overview of the website, or rather the business. And a couple things I want to point out. So we talked about some of those keywords that we were trying to target as well as the key locations that we're competing in. And so trying to target the Waukesha market specifically, we want to get these types of keywords worked into the text early and often on the website. Anybody searching for Waukesha bankruptcy attorneys, this would be a pretty good match of a website on Google for that type of search. So we get a lot of search engine marketing value out of strategically placing keywords and phrases throughout the website. Here we've got some testimonials from happy clients. Unfortunately, we don't yet have images of these people or of other people. Go figure, people who file for bankruptcy don't necessarily want their face plastered all over discussing it. It's kind of a sensitive subject, but we're working on that. All right, so other things. So also during this process, researching and planning out the website, we realized that the old website didn't have the proper content to support and to really get into answering the questions about people's problems. By the way, just in a quick aside, if you will, take a look here. You'll notice the colors. They're going from the red to the black. Yeah, so basically the idea here, based on our research, was, hey, people are in the red when they're in debt, right? So we're trying to get them into the black. So I know, real nerdy, exciting stuff here, but that's kind of how we came up with the color scheme here. Previously, all we had was information about Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. And what we realized is people have no idea what those things are until they need a bankruptcy. And when people are searching for a bankruptcy attorney, typically that's all they know, is that they think they may need to file for bankruptcy because they are having problems with debts. And so what we decided to do was build out all this content for the website. So each one of these links to a different page. But in terms of the homepage, so we come up here, we quickly get a sense of what these people are up to. They're a bankruptcy lawyer. Here's a little about us. From there, we immediately get into, hey, Mr. Customer, what financial troubles are you having? Well, from here they can drill down and click on and find answers to their specific problems, rather than talking about something like Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, which doesn't really resonate with most people. From there, we come down here to just a statement. This was something that was very important to the client, to make sure that people are aware that they don't have to spend a ton of money to get started. All right, so from here, we then actually get down to the services that our client offers. So they offer, as we mentioned before, they offer Chapter 7 bankruptcy, Chapter 13 services, and then debt consolidation. So if people do know what they want, maybe these are people a little further along in the purchasing funnel, maybe they've already got some information, now they just know that they need Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. Well, here they can click on that and get more information about that. Next thing we've got down here is where it says schedule a free debt relief consultation. With the call to action here, we're telling people, hey, schedule a consultation with us. We'll get the ball rolling. We'll help you figure out what your options are. And then we just have a very basic form. Nothing here is too confidential. Very simple. We don't require a whole lot, so it's a form that people are much more likely to fill out than if it were a terribly long and cumbersome form. And then, hey, if they still have some questions, we kind of hit them with the fact that we've helped over 3,500 families in the Milwaukee and Waukesha area. Again, we're working in these keywords strategically to help our markets. And then over here we have frequently asked questions, so people can click on any one of these to get information about some common questions that are asked. And then lastly, we have this static footer section, which is at the bottom of all the pages. You can see we'll have phone numbers, texting numbers, addresses, contact information, and so forth. Again, we do a little about us. And one of the reasons we do that is actually, again, as you can see here, we have Waukesha bankruptcy attorney. That's another opportunity for us to leverage from a search engine marketing standpoint. And then over here we've got just some accreditation from the BBB. Generally speaking, it's a very well-regarded organization that people trust, and they've got an A rating with Better Business Bureau. So that's kind of it in terms of the homepage and how we come to setting it up the way we do. One other thing that's very important to note through this is, in terms of search engine marketing and creating a website that's likely to rank well on Google, it is a balancing act in terms of design. In order to appease Google, we need to have an ample amount of content, written content and video and media content on a page. But from the consumer standpoint, we don't want to overwhelm them by putting too much content on the home page or any other page for that matter. So in terms of design, we had to make sure that we worked in enough areas where there was content and keywords that people are searching for. So all this stuff, while it also is content for consumers to read, by adding all this new content and these keywords, it really helps us rank this website on Google as well. Again, all these keywords that come into play: debt, Chapter 13, bankruptcy, debt consolidation. And then we have additional text down here. Again, this serves both Google's purposes and it's more information for customers. And then lastly, going back to this frequently asked questions box. Frequently asked questions can take up a lot of written space if they're not structured nicely. And that's why we decided to go with this simple accordion box here. It allows us to get a lot of information on the page to serve Google. Similarly, it's listed there for consumers, but it doesn't take up an overwhelming amount of space on the web page, so it doesn't become cluttered and difficult to find what people are looking for. So right there you have the second step in the website creation process. We designed the website, and this really just hinged on what we learned in the first step, which was gathering information and coming up with a strategy and a plan to achieve our clients' goals. And so we took all that information we learned in step one, and then we started incorporating it into our decision making with laying out the website and figuring out what content to highlight, what types of images, and so forth. Without that initial first step, though, we would just be shooting in the dark here. We'd have no idea what we were putting together or why. It wouldn't be prioritized. It wouldn't be set up in a fashion that flows from a consumer standpoint, given the nature of our business and so forth. So this design piece is wonderful from a visual side of things, but again, it all hinges on what that first step is. And that's really where we begin to add the values from the very first step in creating a strategy and plan. And now you can see how that strategy is leveraged with the actual visual design of the website. So it's a very fun process all the way around. What one phase builds on the next. So hopefully you can see the added value that this brings and how our process works. Now in the third step, we're going to show you how we actually go and develop that website. We did get a little bit of ahead of ourselves in this second video here, so you kind of saw how it laid out on the screen already. But we'll jump into the development side in the third step.